did Glitch go from this to this? Sugoi. Hi, I'm Dave. I work at Glitch. I do this, and this. So Glitch is an Australian animation company based in Sydney. And I'd argue that, like all other Western animation studios, we are full of people who are inspired by Japanese animation. And so when our director, Gooseworks, asked if we could literally produce an anime for episode 5, jumped at the chance. Now, how does one produce an anime? Well, we had our producers reach out to a few animation studios in Japan, and eventually Tonari helped us find Belle. And I am so glad that we found Belle.
I was told by our CEO that we have this project. We're going to do a 1-minute animated sequence for Digital Circus. And I was very interested in the project because I'm a big fan of the show, but also I'm a character designer. So it felt like a really great opportunity for me.
Belle is, in my humble opinion, an absolute genius designer, animator, and producer based in Tokyo. And it was her creative group Spoons that produced our sequence for Digital Circus, episode 5. Like early on, I think I remember helping out. Like I remembered hearing we're working with an anime studio. I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. And I think I had to help some people set up some like character, like height charts and color swatches and stuff. Did you guys receive that?
Yes. Yeah. So I was the one who asked for those actually.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So because I had to do I drew all the turnarounds for the characters. Basically, we had to offload this project to my creative circle, Spoons. So the studio asked me, can you produce this? And you just make it happen. So I ended up elevating from character designer to producer. And so I simultaneously produced it, animated on it, designed the characters, and all this other stuff.
We came to Spoons with a bunch of reference material, like height charts, character turnarounds and bios, color swatches. We even had some ideas on how they could set up some of the shots. We tried to anticipate anything that they could need, but of course we also worked with Belle to make sure they had everything that they could find useful for their pipeline.
And so I started doing some pre-production of trying to adapt Pomni and the rest of the gang into an Japanese anime style.
Belle was then able to reinterpret our characters and design them in anime form. This is harder than you think.
I think the biggest design challenge, honestly, was Jax. To make him look like an anime character, it was actually extremely difficult. I kind of gave him like fur on the side of his face. I was thinking like that big smile makes me think of like Studio Ghibli and their kind of characters like the Scarecrow or the Cat Bus or something like that. And so they ended up kind of being the inspiration for his design initially. So I was thinking like, okay, how do I combine Gigi from Kiki's Delivery Service and the Cat Bus to make Jax in anime? And I had conversations with Jarrett, the assistant director, on this, and he was like, it's close, but it doesn't look like Jax yet. It doesn't look smug enough. So I tried to increase the smugness level. So after I sent this one, he said, oh, that's Jax. But then, of course, we had to iterate that a bit more and dial it back towards the original designs just a bit more, because this was part of the more realistic kind of, I want to call them like the creepy past. Like, I don't know what to say about them besides that. They're just too much detail, so they look a little bit off. So yeah, it's really tricky when you're taking these really famous, iconic characters and adapting them. How do you make it feel true to the characters and their personalities? I don't know why I thought this, but I just really thought Kinger would wear a bolo tie if he was wearing a sweater. Like, maybe it's because my grandpa's from Texas, and I just think of like these older Midwestern men that just love to wear bolo ties. And I don't know why. And somehow magically he knows Japanese, I guess now.
That's right. He can read the board. Yeah.
He can read the kanji.
Today, we're going to learn the popular foreign language known as English.
So in Japan, it's kind of common practice that for a director to be working on an anime, they also need to be the board's artist.
The trick with working with Japanese directors and working with studios in Japan is that the directors make the storyboards. So they aren't a director if they don't.
So from here, the director of the project, Yoshiharu Ashino, he drew up the boards and he established the feel of the anime. So Glitch and Spoons agreed that an early 2000s anime vibe would work well for what they wanted, something that would invoke nostalgia.
The idea behind it is to make it have that same nostalgic feeling. I think Digital Circus does a really good job of like blending this nostalgic feeling with like modern animation. So we wanted to be able to replicate that feeling in 2D. So that was kind of the goal of the project.
And while animation is beginning, the background artist will then start on their establishing shot, which will then be used as a key reference for the rest of the scene.
The classroom scene, basically what we do in anime is we create a bijutsu board. So basically this means like a background board. And so the first shot of the full classroom, that painting ended up being the concept for all the other views of the classroom.
But it's like the master one. So like you do that one, you put the anime and you're like, okay, that feels good. Let's go with this.
Yeah, exactly. So if you ever see wide establishing shots in an anime, those are probably the first painting that they ever did. So if you see the outside of the My Hero Academia school, that's a bijutsu board. Or like a main city street on Attack on Titan, like that's probably a bijutsu board. So those inform the shots for the rest of the sequence. And generally those boards also inform the background painting team how to paint. So they'll have to mimic the style of that board.
So with anime, I understand that you guys probably stick to like the limited animation style, right? Which is what we tried to mimic in Gaslight District. It's actually very hard to mimic that style in 3D. So seeing it authentically made was really cool.
Yeah, and we do a full paper pipeline, even though we use digital. We did our timesheets on paper. So we had physical copies of the X sheets that we used for the animation.
How do you time on paper?
Normally these are on much larger paper, but so the timing for all the cuts that we did for Digital Circus were all done on paper.
So you look at that and you see time, you see frames.
Yes, exactly. So here are the director's corrections of this timing. And so basically, the in-betweens weren't done as properly as they should have been, and he renumbered all of the sheets as well. I think that that's kind of a key role for directors, assistant directors, is trying to like retime these sheets. So they spend a lot of time with their head buried in physical sheets like this. These we deliver with the first pass of the animation. So they'll see the first pass of the animation, look at the timing, make corrections, and also do drawovers. And then that gets sent to Supervision, who does drawovers again. And then the supervisor, basically they just combine the notes from the director with their own interpretations of how on model the characters are, and then they'll redraw the characters. I think each shot of this production was redrawn maybe 10 times just to get it right. So there's layers of phases of like quality creep, basically. Every time you redraw it and fix timing and polish the model of the character, the higher quality the animation looks in the end. So it's really impossible to make anime by yourself, I think, because you need layers of people with different skills and ability to combine forces to make the animation so high quality.
Belle's not kidding about needing a really good team to get high quality anime out the door. Her main team consisted of herself, doing a little or a lot of everything, the director, Yoshiharu Ashino, Jarrett Martin, doing production and assistant directing, doing a lot of those animation timing corrections, keikokup, Belle's partner, who did a lot of animation, color and comp supervision, Virginia Cortiana, who did background and art direction, and about 10 others who did a lot of things like, anim cleanup, in between frames, smaller jobs like that. How long was the turnaround time?
A month or two of pre-production, 2 to 3 months of production, and then a month for post-production. Yeah. So it was pretty fast.
Wow.
This is a lot of work for one joke, isn't it?
Yeah, it's insane. Like the production, I just heard, hey, we're having an anime studio produce the anime part. I'm like, oh, cool. But like, I got to the end and I was just like, how did they do this? Which is the whole reason I got in touch. And I'm glad I did, because that is so fascinating. There's so much work.
Yeah.
No, thank you for all your passion, because I think that's something that makes a big difference. Like, we all at Glitch work with a passion. We're all fans of the show. So, and I think the fans can see that. I think people understand when a show is made with actual passion behind it, rather than just workers droning and churning stuff out. So thank you for being part of that passion network and making something awesome.
Of course, yeah, and I'm happy to.
Belle will be showing off a bunch of her work on her socials, particularly her Twitter. So give her a follow if you want to get some cool insight into, you know, art direction, art design, anything for cosplay ideas, or just anime production in general. She's awesome. Well, there you have it. You now know how to make your own anime if you so wish. I don't know about you, I personally love this stuff. It was the early explanations of those YouTube channels back in the day, like Corridor Digital, you know, early Corridor Digital, or Freddie Wong's Rocket Jump, that made me realize that I could also be a VFX artist or an animator or both, because it's just a matter of understanding the steps involved. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found Belle as inspiring as I did. And until next time, bye.